All right, so we're back and ready to dive into Chapter 4 of Nathaniel Thatcher and the Wish Thieves. It's called Get Off or Don't Ever. And let me tell you, this chapter throws us right into the heart of the action. We're back on the Argosy.
That's right, the massive 1600s ship.
Exactly. And not just any ordinary day on the Argosy, it's caught in the storm.
Oh, no.
I know, right? A massive storm. And to make matters even worse, yeah, they're sailing straight into the Bermuda Triangle, a place where anything can happen.
Yeah, and it plays right into the escape from the Argosy, too. Adds to the whole not knowing what's real and what's not.
Oh, absolutely. The author's use of the Bermuda Triangle is really interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, it's definitely not just a random location, is it?
It's like it symbolizes the unknown, you know, and it just ramps up the tension.
The Bermuda Triangle is famous for those mysterious disappearances.
Right.
And then you've got the Nixies, shape-shifting water spirits straight out of, like, Germanic folklore. They add this whole other level of, I don't know, mystique to the whole thing.
I was just reading about them, and the way they're described is seriously creepy. Luring people in with their music,
Yeah.
and then boom, watery grave. Makes you wonder about Aaliyah's keeper, doesn't it?
Just hangs over everything in this chapter.
We can't forget that Nathaniel's already getting suspicious of Boss. He's questioning things.
Exactly, and he's starting to act based on what he believes is right.
It's a big turning point for him, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Picture this. The Argosy is being battered by this insane storm.
Okay.
Huge waves, howling wind, just complete chaos.
I can only imagine.
And it's in the middle of all this mayhem that Boss tells Nathaniel and Aaliyah it's time to escape. Well, first, Bunny and Flem jump off the ship.
Into the stormy sea.
Right into it.
That's crazy.
And then, just as the Argosy sails into the Bermuda Triangle, Boss pushes Nathaniel and Aaliyah overboard. We learn that the Argosy is actually trapped in a time loop.
A time loop.
Yep, inside the Bermuda Triangle.
So, like, it sails in.
Gets caught in this time bubble.
And then what?
And then it loops back to the beginning.
So anyone who stays on board is just stuck.
Stuck in this endless cycle.
Wow, that's
It's like Groundhog Day, but with a spooky supernatural twist, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what about Nathaniel and Aaliyah? They're doomed then, right?
Well, just when you think they're done for,
Yeah.
they get rescued by a submarine. It's not just any ordinary submarine.
Okay, what is it?
It's crewed by schooner sprites.
Schooner sprites. What do they look like?
They're described as having these fish-like features. And get this, they're playing this strange game on the submarine.
What kind of game?
It's with dice and seashells and a crab.
Crab.
They keep poking it with a stick.
Oh my goodness, that's a bit strange.
It's like their version of some weird nautical monopoly or something. That name, schooner, it feels important, especially since they travel by submarine.
I think they're playing with the idea of schooners, those fast, agile ships. It's like a reflection of the sprites, how they move so easily in this underwater world. And it's the contrast with the Argosy, which is more like old school, slow.
Right, and their next challenge is to get to Midtown. To get there, they got to travel through this grass forest, and that's where things get really dangerous.
The bombardier beetle.
Oh, it's not your average garden beetle.
What do you mean?
These things are enormous, and they shoot acid.
And they eat sprites.
Anything sprite-sized is fair game for these guys.
That's terrifying. It's so cool how they use, like, real creatures, like, the bombardier beetle, to, like, create those moments where, like, the tension just goes way up.
Seriously, about how that beetle defends itself. My jaw, it, like, hit the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Like this tiny bug.
Yeah.
It's packing heat. A built-in super soaker, but, like, with boiling acid, not water.
It's incredible. It's, like, totally mind-blowing how they can mix those two chemicals, hydroquinone and hydrogen peroxide, and bam, explosive defense.
It's just a smart way to make things feel dangerous. Using something real. Poor Flem almost becomes beetle food. He's complaining about his bunions while they're all running for their lives.
Oh, no.
And just as the beetle is about to blast him,
What happens?
Boss swoops in and saves the day. It was all thanks to Boss, quick thinking, and some pretty incredible flying.
Wow. I guess even Boss has his moments.
And I think this scene is important for a few reasons.
Okay, like what?
Well, for one, it shows that even the Wish Thieves aren't safe in this world.
True. The danger is real for everyone.
And two, it shows that Boss, even with all his flaws, can be protective.
That's a good point. He put himself at risk to save them.
And lastly, I think it highlights the contrast between Flem's, his complaining
Right, always whining about something.
and the very real threat they're facing.
That's an interesting point. It also reminds us that even the comedic characters are vulnerable.
Right. Flem might be funny,
Yeah.
but he's still in real danger.
It makes the stakes feel even higher, doesn't it?
Totally. It shows that actions have consequences in this world,
Yeah.
even for seemingly silly characters.
Absolutely.
So they finally reach this town. It's protected by this giant grass gate.
Okay.
It gives them a moment of safety.
Right.
But it feels like just a pause before things get even crazier.
Yeah, there's definitely more to come.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And this is where the author starts to really focus on the relationships between Nathaniel and Boss and Nathaniel and Leah. Nathaniel still doesn't know the full story about Leah.
Right. He knows she's trying to get to Midtown.
But he has no idea why or how serious her situation really is.
That's going to be frustrating for him.
And this is where Boss drops a bombshell. He finally reveals the truth about Aaliyah. She's been stuck on the Argosy for 5 years, caught in that time loop.
No way.
And get this, she's tied to this dangerous keeper named Siren.
Wow, that's a lot to take in.
5 years, just sailing into the Bermuda Triangle every day and not even knowing it.
That's insane.
It's a really cruel twist, don't you think?
Yeah, it really shows how this whole wish system exploits people.
Right. They get their wishes granted, but at what cost?
And they don't even fully understand what they're getting into.
And remember, Nathaniel's own wish is at stake here, too.
Right, he's got that deadline hanging over his head.
If he doesn't get back to the human world soon, that memory draft over his house will disappear.
I think we need to consider something for a second.
What's that?
How Boss's deception, his lies, have affected Nathaniel.
It's true. He's just a kid.
Right. He's been thrown into this crazy world, and the one person he thought he could trust
Has betrayed him over and over again.
it's got to be a huge blow to him, don't you think?
I would say so. You can really see him struggling to process it all, to make sense of it.
And what's really interesting to me is how this betrayal seems to be pushing him to stand up to Boss.
Like when he decides to help Aaliyah,
Right.
Boss told him to just focus on escaping.
But he couldn't leave her behind.
It shows how he's developing his own sense of right and wrong.
Separate from Boss's influence.
And I think this inner conflict, it just adds so much to his character.
It does. He's torn between obeying Boss and doing what he believes is right.
Which is not an easy choice to make, especially when you're a kid.
And on top of that, his time in the sprite world is running out.
That ticking clock of the memory draft. Talk about pressure.
The memory draft is a really fascinating concept, this magical spell that makes humans forget about the people who've gone missing.
Yeah, it's clever, but it's only temporary.
And he knows he has to get back before it fades.
I mean, Bunny mentioned it only lasts for 72 hours.
72 hours, wow, that's a huge contrast to the 5 years Aaliyah has been trapped. Things are definitely getting complicated.
They are. Nathaniel is carrying a big secret now.
And his trust in Boss is...
Barely there.
And his connection with Aaliyah?
It keeps getting stronger.
Despite all the chaos?
I know, right? It's a real pressure cooker of emotions in this chapter.
It really is. And Nathaniel's decision to keep Aaliyah's situation a secret, that 5 years in the time loop.
It's really weighing on him.
I bet.
He knows she deserves to know the truth.
What if Boss finds out?
It's interesting how his interactions with Aaliyah play into that.
Yeah, she's in this bizarre, awful situation.
But she's so resilient, and she's so eager to learn, to understand this new world. Speaking of interesting characters, what about Flem?
Flem, always good for a laugh.
Right. But he actually plays a really important role.
In what way?
Well, he highlights the ethical gray areas of this wish thief world.
What do you mean?
Like his constant complaining, it might seem silly, but it reminds us that
these sprites experience pain too.
Yeah, they're not just magical beings. They have feelings. They get hurt.
They're vulnerable, just like humans. The author has created this world that's magical and dangerous and full of hope and despair, and Midtown represents the culmination of all of that. The place where wishes come true, but also where the price of those wishes becomes clear.
It's a powerful message that leaves us with a lot to think about, and it makes me even more excited to see what happens next in Nathaniel and Aaliyah's journey.
Me too. This chapter was a real turning point, wasn't it?
It set the stage for some major conflicts and some big decisions. I have one final thought-provoking question for our listener. Okay, so let's say you were the author.
Right.
You've got all these pieces.
Yeah.
The Bombardier Beetle, the Nixie, the Bermuda Triangle. What kind of story would you cook up? What twists would you throw in there?
Ooh, that's a good one. It really makes you think like the author, right? All those possibilities. For me, I'd probably dive deeper into the whole shape-shifting thing that Nixies do. Imagine, you never know who to trust. Every character could be a friend or, bam, it's the Nixie in disguise.
Oh, that's trippy. Makes you think, is the Nixie the bad guy? Or is there something even bigger, even worse?
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about all this. So many possibilities. It makes you really appreciate what the author's done, taking these ideas and making a story that just grabs you.
So true. Till next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into those worlds where the real and the made-up, they blend together. You never know what you might find.